Not safe for Wildy. He's like a grizzly bear, look. Pushing through.
As Mark Twain once said, if you don't like the weather, just wait a few minutes. He was of course referring to New England, but there's never been a truer description of the weather patterns here in Alaska.
And it still survived. And,
Yesterday's sunshine and bright skies have given way to cloud, fog and persistent rain. Not heavy, but constant, which will eventually drench you through to the bone. Realistically, there's little we can do but wait it out. This is hugely frustrating. However, we entertain ourselves with tall stories and old jokes, trying to keep our spirits lifted. A momentary break in the weather offers a glimmer of hope, and we decide to take a walk to the end of the airstrip and see what's moving in the valley below. We're excited to see a small group of moose that included a couple of decent bulls, but the fog rolled in once more, bringing with it a heavier band of rain. Hunting in this environment is about patience and strategy. You can cover a lot more ground with your binoculars and spotting scope than you can on foot. There's also the terrain to consider. What appears to be a calmly rolling landscape from our vantage point is actually a twisted maze of hidden cuts, valleys and crevasses, choked with spruce, willow and alders, impassable without cutting a trail. If you're caught down there in the fog, it can be nigh on impossible to find your way out. Wet and a little weary, we head back to camp and get set up for what promises to be a dry day tomorrow.
Here we are, I'm still in bed. It's morning of day 3, I think. Day 3? Day 3. It has never stopped raining all night. It's been hacking it down. Here's Uncle Ian. There we go, there he is. Fresh back from the ablutions. Dan is still in his bed. Our humble abode is getting more cluttered with wet clothes, rifles and everything else, but hey Leo, we're still in high spirits and we're cracking on. Hopefully, here I am, look, hopefully the weather will lift a bit today. We might be able to get out. We did a lot of glassing again yesterday afternoon, seeing lots of game in between the cloud and the fog. It's just going to be a case of getting into it. So there we are. Catch you in a bit.
Anyway, do you want a cup of tea? Please.
Well, these are good. These are come on.
So it's day 3 of the hunt, and the rain's cleared up for us, although it was raining pretty hard for most of last night. The skies have brightened up a little bit, the fog has pulled back in, which is great, so we're going to head up to the top of the mountains behind us and start glassing. Now obviously it's our 3rd day in, it doesn't feel like we've been here for 5 minutes, but we've established ourselves, got used to the conditions, and hopefully we've got ourselves in a position where we can go hunting. Now we had to move camp last night and move from one tent to the other. It was raining pretty hard and pretty solid, but that's the changeable conditions up here. Bright and sunny 1 minute, and then raining and cold and wet and windy the next. But as you can see behind me, absolutely stunning now. So we're about to get started, and we'll check in again a little bit later on. I'm going to take a look at this.
After almost 48 hours of solid rain, we finally catch a break in the weather. As the wind is blowing down the airstrip towards the moose we spotted, we plan our route up the ridge that runs alongside the airstrip in an attempt to circle around the wind. The first challenge we face is breaking through the near impenetrable blanket of willow and alders that stands in our way. This involves cutting trails, clearing a path before progress can be made. The sheer scale of the country here takes some getting used to, and you need to tune your senses accordingly.
That would
to be about a 3.5 ton bear. Wildy's keen eyes spot a large black mass on a glacier, which he believes is a bear. This actually happens to be a giant boulder around 16 miles away, but at least we're making progress. With our quarry correctly identified, we continue our journey up over the plateau, making good use of the physical abilities of our team.
These alders are pretty thick. Not so for Wildy. It's like a grizzly bear look. Pushing through.
It's in environments such as this where using an effective layering system is critical. Although it's still pretty cold and windy, the sheer physical effort of the climb has meant that we've shed our waterproof outer layers and climbing our base layers. So we're about 3/4 mile from camp. We're hiking up towards a ridge that you can see over my right shoulder here. It's pretty windy at the moment, but the rain's held off so far, a few drops in the air. What we're trying to do is get on the ridge above where we saw the moose yesterday. Now the wind is pretty strong, so it's pretty consistent, but unfortunately it's not in the right direction for us. So we're going to have to keep climbing, go around the other side, and then come face back into the wind. Now we're hoping they'll still be in the valley below, but this is some big country out there, and who knows, but so far so good. We're making good progress, and it's just a matter of getting up the top. As the wind brings in another band of rain, we quickly need to add a breathable, waterproof layer. It's a constant battle with the elements. Nutrition and hydration are also critical considerations. The physical nature of the climbs and fluctuating temperatures keep the body in a constant calorific deficit. It's impossible to replace what's been expended, but taking regular rest intervals and calorie-dense snacks help keep us on the move. We eventually cross the plateau and emerge high on the ridge across from camp, overlooking the valley where we previously spotted the moose, but this time with the wind in our faces. You can see a line of grey rocks that make up the airstrip on the right of the screen. Our camp is on the far right of this, a few hundred metres up. It doesn't look far away, but it's taken us 2 to 3 hours to get here. We break for lunch as the rain comes in once again. It's at times like this that your energy and enthusiasm are put to the test. You rely on your buddies to keep you motivated and focused on the task at hand.
What is that up there?
We spent hours glassing every cut, meadow and ravine, searching deep into the undergrowth for signs of movement. As the sun starts to fall, we look back towards camp and contemplate the task ahead of us. Getting back is going to be just as difficult as getting here. We gather our thoughts and make a plan to hunt directly towards camp, checking out some of the sheltered ravines along the way. It's a more direct route, but has just as many obstacles to overcome. As we near camp, we start to spot signs of grizzly bear activity. Mark takes point and chambers around just in case we're ambushed. These are dangerous times. We're surrounded by dense cover and need to remain vigilant. After all, here we're just part of the food chain. We move cautiously, scanning the undergrowth and listening carefully for sounds of grizzly approaching. As we get further in, the signs become clearer and more regular. There's a palpable sense of relief when we finally make it back to camp, and we still have enough energy to share a joke at the end of our first real day of hunting. As another bush plane passes our camp, heading for their wilderness adventure, there's one thing that's absolutely for sure. We'll sleep well tonight.